Hello, hello, hello.
Let's get this party on the road.
Let's get this party started. It's time to party. Yeah, let's party. It's time to party. I wanna party. Doom, 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 boom, boom, ba doom, doom. Doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 huh. Get funky now. Da, 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 da. It's so bad.
Yeah, but there it is. Dennis, you're grabbing a bottle opener. What are you about to open?
Oh, I found Smittix.
Did you now?
Corner store.
Smittix at the corner.
And they didn't have it last time I was there. Well,
and you threw a tantrum. Now. And now they have it.
I am a believer now.
Excellent. So happy hour to you, my friend. It's yet another week.
To you. Here's to you. Cheers.
Cheers unto thee as well.
You got a little space age cup there, I see.
I do. It has some red wine in it. Vino tinto, as we say here.
Yeah, I was thinking about going up. I bought my son-in-law a bottle of Johnny Walker Black. Thinking, oh man, I had to go home and drink some scotch. But I had bought a 6-pack of beer, so here I am with my favorite. And there's
we'll
music
allow it
tonight at O'Duffy's has got some great music tonight. The Out of Favor Boys are playing a duo or a trio, whatever they do. So that starts.
Are they ever gonna be in favor?
No.
Or no?
It's they strive for it. They're successful.
Okay, because in Spanish we say "por favor," like, please let me be in favor, but they never do.
No.
Okay.
They never. No. They're way beyond that.
Okay.
Way beyond that for reasons that we nobody's totally sure of. But
well, let's not go into it for sure.
So I got to play the other night. I went down to Old Dog, and much to my surprise, the parking lot was full, and they had the sense to not only book about 5 tables of a retirement party. So there were 5 tables up the middle of the joint that had tablecloths on them. And in the back bar, there's 2 bars in the back bar, which is a really tiny little room, enough space for, there's 2 4-tops back there and about 5 places at the bar. So it's a little room. That's where all the buffet was for them.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are 2 4-tops?
A 4-top is a table that's got 4 chairs on it.
Okay.
And there's 2 of them.
I know what a triceratops is, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
That
so
term.
two 4-tops and then 5 or 6 seats. So a little room.
Okay.
And that's where their buffet was. So they brought in 12, 14, 15 people in a place that holds 50. And then because they had music, and it was one of the reasons the retirement party was booked there was because they had music. It was my buddy piano player Tom Duffield who was doing a boogie woogie blues jam night with my favorite drummer in town, Joe Garcia, who just really
tapping those
he played nonstop for 2.5 hours. It was insane. But they played a duo, and then they had a woman singer for 2 hours, took a break, and then they had a blues hour. And I was up for the whole hour. We must have done 10, 12. We did 3 encores. It was
Wow.
it was a blast. It was just a blast. The piano player's so good, and the woman singer sang a couple with me. I sang a couple, but
I have a question. How do you feel about encores as a tradition requirement?
they're not a requirement by any stretch. And
Well,
the first thing that I have to say is from a legal perspective.
okay.
And a lot of encores are going to depend on whether or not the establishment is going to enforce the contract, which says you play from 9 to 11, because they want to close up at midnight,
Right.
right? Or they're flexible on that. And if there is an encore, they'd play one. And what Tom did, because this place could care less about the contract, there were people drinking, and they were
In a bar?
the more they danced and moved around, the thirstier they got. So they're they don't want to put a damp in it. And so we did 3 encores, and each one was driven by 100% of the people standing up yelling encore. So it wasn't a requirement. When a band doesn't do it, I figure they got their reasons.
The reason for my question is that in literally every concert I've been to in the past 20 years, the band says, "Okay, bye, see you guys."
It's a planned encore.
Of course, but that's what rubs me the wrong way. Is like if you you didn't play your most hit song in the whole set, and then you're going to say goodbye and force us to be like, "No, please, Mr.
Let me ask you
Superstar,
this.
come back and sing."
Let me ask you this. So, do you think in any circumstance that as a result of a tepid crowd that they want to come out and play that song?
No.
You don't. I do.
I think look, as an audience member, who has shown up to see you play, it feels a little like a breach of contract to like force me to clap for 4 minutes straight to get you to come back out.
First of all, you misstated the general circumstance. It isn't the case that the song that you're trying to encore is their most famous song. They did that to end the main part of the show. They come back for an encore
Sometimes, but it's like their third most famous song.
I think it's more than sometimes. I think it's usually, if not almost always, because your point would be so painfully obvious if that number one hit was withheld. And that's one of the reasons they don't do it. They close their main part of the show with the big showiest number of the night. The encore very well may be a loud get up and dance, or it could be a softer thing. It could be something. But you research this right now. Research it right now.
No, it's like every single time in Spain, what the crowd is expected to do is to chant another. They say otra, 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 while they're clapping, and the band expects to leave the stage. The stage goes dark, and then they wait backstage briefly. Get
a drink,
high-fiving or whatever, peeing, and whatever, and then they come back, and it's like, oh, you guys really love us, but it's like, but it's like in the same way that. Again, you're an American, and you have trouble imagining the case where this is not true. But
I see. Because it's Spain.
No.
Big hit.
Hold on. My analogy is with like tipping at a restaurant. it's like you're expected to do this behavior. It's a ceremony that we have inculcated into culture that the crowd is expected to.
It's a cultural etiquette.
The crowd is expected to demand more. And it's super clear when they're actually done, because after they've done one encore or two encores or whatever, and then they bring up the house lights, the band is done. Like they keep the house lights down while you are expected to beg for the encore.
Yeah. Well,
and I don't know. It's
it all depends, I suppose, on how long it goes on and how much I like the band. One of the things that I like about their tradition is that it will give you, as an a single audience member, as a couple, an idea of the degree to which people feel as enthusiastic about the show as you do. And I don't mean to say only when you're super enthusiastic.
Right. Yeah.
I'm less than enthusiastic. If the majority of the place sounds less than enthusiastic, that's one thing. Or if I'm in the minority, and when I really don't mind it is when the crowd and I are in agreement in a very enthusiastic way. And I like getting up, stretching, clapping, getting them to come out again. I don't mind running to go get a beer. In fact, story be told, it's at that time that I would run to the back of the State Theater here in Kalamazoo when they did a big show downtown.
Yeah.
And I would buy up all the leftover fucking Sammy thighs that they had cooking in their special sauce. I would buy trays of it because they were going to have to pack it up and take it away. That's a story for another day. Those are some tasty bitches.
So you use the encore as a way to get Encore Chicken. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
okay.
But that's premised on having gone out there. But when they start their final set, right, and the crowd is with the final set's coming, people are serving food. We'll wait for the final set to start. Things will wind down, and that's when they're going to start to pack up. So at that time, I would go out and say, "Hey, when you're ready, can you tell me when? But when you're ready, I will buy all those thighs.
I'll take all this chicken off you for
all of it." And they say,
"How much?"
I say, "Well, what do you think?" And they'd say like a tray of them. Now these are $3 a piece. So I'm looking at a tray of 12, 15 thighs in au jus. A big silver tray like you'd cook a chicken in or a small turkey. And they'd say, $10? I'd say, yeah, I'd give them 12. And I'd go home and I'd put them in a slow cooker. It was always on a weekend. So I'd put them on a slow cooker and invite everybody over on Sunday.
You are a thigh master.
My wife has one of those upstairs now that you mention it.
So, but yes, I agree with you that it is interesting to also observe the thermometer of crowd appreciation and to measure how you fit on there. But what I object to is the cultural requirement to participate in the begging. It's the begging.
Did you feel that way in the U.S.?
Oh yeah.
Oh well.
I mean, for encores and
so here's the thing: you're the one with the problem. You're the one with the problem.
And look, we release our podcast, and nobody requests an encore. Nobody, and I'm fucking pissed off.
Speaking of encores, I don't imagine you noticed that the first episode of Your Honor dropped.
I noticed, and I watched it, motherfucker.
Did you?
I did.
Did you? Well, let's talk about that for a little while.
Let's change topic from encore to honor.
So the kind of story where somebody says something else about management, and you say, they're going to receive a strongly worded letter from me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I sent such a letter today to
Bryan Cranston.
To the blog of the Honor, and got on their mailing list. So I will hear everyone's comment. And let me tell you, in all caps, I wrote this phrase: bad writing again.
Yeah, it was
muddled.
It's the sort of entertainment that if you don't think too much is like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool.
So let me just start this discussion by asking a few questions. And we'll go this way.
God.
Number one.
Yes.
How long did it appear that the judge had been locked up, based on the way he looked and what he was going through?
Are you thinking critically? Come on. His beard was. Let me look at you a little bit better. His beard was a 3-month beard.
3 months. Okay. And in that period of time, he lost all this weight. That's all possible. Lost all the weight, force fed, all this other stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of a was he in jail, or was he in prison, or where was he?
Leave it to you to make that distinction.
He was in prison, and he was at Angola prison, because that's where the rodeo is.
Yes, I saw that, and I went and I looked it up. Episode 9, motherfucker.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
So everyone go back and listen to that. It'll be in the show notes.
Well, and first off, they don't wear vests and helmets. They do not wear vests and helmets. That was just ridiculous. But so he's in prison.
Wait, so they wear no protective gear?
No, they're just in their stripes.
Okay, but the stripes were accurate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was shot there. In fact, the place I sat and when I went, I was the guest of honor, introduced as Dennis Schwanz.
Yes,
our special guest of honor. I was the rodeo special guest in the best seat in the house.
Nice.
And but anyway, so he's in prison for 3 months, which means, of course, that he had to go. He's been sentenced. He had to go through court. He had to, be found guilty, and he had to go. So explain this to me. We know that what he did a lot of bad things. Do you know what he was in prison for?
I mean, they later had him confess to.
Later? What do you mean later?
I mean, on the episode.
How do you think he got convicted? You think the conviction, the tape recording of his admission of guilt is what got him a prison.
We didn't see that. Okay, yeah. Okay, so he admitted to tampering with a trial and basically
and explaining why.
Right, and
saying that he was doing it on behalf of the family.
Correct.
Of the crime family. Okay.
Yes.
So here he is. He's convicted. He's in prison. We know that he's done a bunch of crimes, including cover-up and falsifying, God only knows what. But on the tape, all he's admitting to on the tape is that he rigged the trial for the family. And
right.
One would think, well, that's pretty obvious. It's their son. It's not like a big stretch. So you see a scene in the courthouse where, is it Rosie Perez?
Yes.
Who's the actress?
She's the prosecutor,
assistant attorney general, prosecutor, federal prosecutor. She listens to the tape and she says, "Hey, you can't let this get out.
Right.
That he's a snitch, because I need him."
Yep.
Okay. So when did that happen?
Yep.
When did that happen? And how is it
It
that a
happened
man goes
on
to
the
court?
episode 3 months after. Yeah.
Was it a flashback? No. Maybe it was. If it was a flashback, it wasn't clear. I'm fairly astute. That's one of the reasons I say it was muddled. My sharply worded letter said your time frame doesn't work at all. And here's the other thing. This is what I wrote, but more important, this is what I say to you. That's what I say to you.
That's the most important thing.
So let me get this straight. You're at Angola prison, and you got the annual rodeo,
Yep.
and prisoners are lining up like crazy to be able to participate, and it's bragging rights only. But somehow they're turning it into a cash prize, which is of course not the case.
Okay.
But he doesn't do. He wants to do it because why? Why? What's his motivation?
Because he wants to get punished because he feels like a shitty dad.
He wants to get punished, or he wants to get killed.
I mean, you both.
Okay, so the fact is, it's clear.
I mean, he's trying to die. Yeah, he's trying to die.
Yeah, and they won't let him. So he's under doctors, and he's force feeding him.
Yep.
In the prison system,
which was a super fake. The pushing the tube into his nose.
Yes, was force fed.
But it was like the tube's not moving. Come on, guys.
And he's underweight, and he's starving himself.
Right.
He's trying to die. He's under psychiatric care, and somehow he's one of the prisoners chosen to participate. Somehow this isn't a lawsuit waiting to happen. Somehow this is the old man who's going to sit with the young Hispanic,
right?
And saying what's the young Hispanic's motivation? It ain't bragging rights, which is the way it is there. It's because he wants the money for his kids, as if that matters to the bull. So all I wrote, I wrote something to that effect, but I'll give you this blog, and we'll see what other people say. But I love Bryan Cranston. The other thing I wrote, similar to my comments from last season, was one would think that Bryan Cranston would demand a better script.
One would,
or is he out of touch?
You would. I don't know.
Is he out of touch? Does he think it's great writing?
I don't know. There are actors that then, like, specifically don't go back and watch their work. Like, they put in their best effort on the day and trust that it will come out awesome. I don't know, like, but it also seems like the internet in general is not on your side here. Like, I think
the comments were first of all, there were some that moved in my direction. Nothing quite as sharp as me, but I'll guarantee you that my comments
how could there be?
Will draw similar comments.
Okay. Well, I will have to check out this this bulletin board where you are posting your.
So here's a question for you. Another question for you.
Yes.
Here's a scene. Carlo.
Yep.
Is there was attempted murder, killed the kid, the judge's kid.
Yep.
And meant for Carlo, and of course this has put the whole family into a fucking warpath. They know the little man did it, and so they're after little man. And they show Carlo out in the courtyard of their mansion boxing with a big boxing bag, and his mother comes up to him, and there's a scene where she puts her arms around him from the back and says, "Oh, you're sweating," and this and that and the other, and why the fuck aren't you out there finding out who did this? What did that embrace tell you about the relationship between Carlos and his mother?
I forget in the past if like she is the main driver of the violence in the family, but
Yes,
in this episode, for
she's
sure,
the one
she was.
she's the one who said in the introduction to the show, which was Bryan Cranston saying previously on
Right.
Your Honor, and retaliation was due for the death of the son. So they went and she said, "Go big,
Right.
go big," and then they blew up the house and killed a mother and 2 children.
So
She ordered that.
Do you remember the scene on the bridge with the daughter and the father where she says, "Look, I know that mother and our family are like prone to violence, but you and I are different."
Huh.
And it was like, and she said, "How is it that you can, like," she said, like, "I feel that you and I are different. How is it that you can do the things that you do for this business?"
Yeah.
And he
that's
didn't have a good answer, but she was clearly drawing a you're not as crazy violent as
Right. Well,
my brother and
he does
my
give
mother.
this adage of there's a quote that he says something to the
Isn't it
effect.
good? I can quote it. I just saw it. Something like patience is. He said, "Patience is not weakness, and violence is not strength," or something like that.
Yes, that's it.
It was close to that, but it was very much a just going back and being violent, which both boys exhibited, and they had that other thing of like boys are impetuous or whatever.
So next question. Was there, when you saw the baby, when you saw what's her name, Lisa, is that her name? No, not Elsa. It's
Baby.
Alia taking care of a 3-month-old baby, and the baby's father is the judge's son who's dead. And
Whoa.
you think back to the relationship they had barely kissed because he was so shy and it was such a weird dynamic.
Sure.
There was no indication whatsoever, which it's okay for a show that's depicting reality. Say, well, there's something really important here we didn't tell you. And the fact that the baby's 3 months old, 4 months old.
Same as the beard.
Huh?
Same as the beard.
That's right. That's right. And so that timeline made sense. But I thought it was kind of a shameless plot twist, frankly.
Yeah.
And I thought that those 2 actors had about as much excitement on screen together as a loaf of bread in a big bowl of water, placing the bread in the bowl of water and watching what happens. That's how exciting that was.
That's pretty sexy, actually.
Did you miss that?
I think I missed the baby scene, but
It was only one. It was only that. It was only her taking care of a baby. There wasn't any discussion of it. And here you got the judge in prison, wanting to die, nothing to live for, except that he has a grandson. What? Family's so important to you and you have a grandson?
Well, and she comes to see him and is like, "Did he love me?"
I've written you every day. Let's go back to last season. What was the relationship between the judge and the high school girl who I think was probably a sophomore in high school.
Right.
So now suddenly she's 21 and I don't know, she's older. And she wrote him all these times. And she has the letters in her hand, which I don't know that that's the way.
That's not the way the mail works.
Well, it's not the way prison mail works.
So, yeah. I don't know. These people are making it up as they go along to try
He's
and
making a lot of money. Cranston sold out on this shit. And I can't not watch it because I like the actors, and I've always got the hope that maybe that it'll get better.
Yeah. I wouldn't set that bar too high. I would set the bar super low.
If you wanted to die in prison, how would you do it?
That is the best podcast question ever. If I wanted to die in prison, I mean, the most common way I've heard of suicide in prison is with, the noose out of sheets. From
He might. Let's see. He assume he's on suicide watch.
Right.
You go up to. You're in Angola prison, by the way. You're not just in any prison. Okay. You're in Angola, by the way. Just another fun fact: is the single most violent. Is the prison in the United States that has the single most prominent history of violence.
Okay, so if suicide watch is a thing like it is for people that aren't child molesters or whatever.
He's trying to starve himself and
starve himself. I mean, I don't think it would be too hard to go and if death was your option, if death was your end, no matter the means.
Well, he's got a lot of money. He owns properties. He was a judge for all these years. All you got to do is pay somebody to kill him. Somebody who's in there for life without parole. Just, hey, there's $1,000 waiting for you outside. I want you to kill me. The other thing you do is try to escape and don't take no for an answer. They'll fucking shoot you.
Right. Death by cop or prison guard.
You're going to go to the fucking rodeo and hope that you get killed by a bull. How many inmates in Angola's history have been killed by the bull? It ain't a bunch if it's any.
Yeah.
That ain't a surefire way. You want to get further depressed? Break both your fucking legs.
Yeah.
It's just
I think you could go and pick a fight with he's more or less free walking around in the open prison yard. I think you could go and just be a jerk to the biggest dude you saw.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't take too long.
Well, you just got to be clear about it. You got to be clear about it. I mean, there's gangs in prison. You go to the gang. There's a guy there that, is in for life. He's got nothing to lose. Money on the outside, running drugs, whatever.
Right.
Relatives running drugs on the outside, whatever. Come up with 10 grand, whatever. Call Charlie. Here's another question.
Yes.
Charlie's worried about this. Why? Because the murder of the judge's son has the voting public crying for public safety.
Yeah.
And how long ago did that murder happen?
Yeah.
3 months ago?
Beard months ago, yes.
It's never been solved. Where is the storyline about the murder of, what was the boy's name? Do you recall?
Adam.
Yeah. His first son. Adam.
Indeed.
Where's the storyline for that? Nobody was caught. Huh. But everybody knows, everybody on the wrong side of the law knows that it was little man.
Yeah. And again, everyone knows it was Little Man 3 months ago. Right.
And so they find, the Queenie, whatever her name is,
Yeah.
Voodoo Queenie, crime lord. She gets Little Man. She locks him up in a rent-a-garage.
Right.
And let me ask you this question: if you were held captive in a rectangular box,
Yes.
where would you spend in the box? Where would you spend most of your time?
In the
In
corner.
the box.
In the corner.
In the corner. Why?
Because I have, I can lean against both sides.
Yes. Every time they opened the door,
test?
where was Little Man?
In the middle, like a dumbass.
Sitting cross-legged in the middle with no back support.
I mean, if it's meditation time, then maybe that's when you go there. But
Yeah.
Look, maybe our media, like podcasts, should not be dissected. So,
Well, that's not true. I've just seen another movie done by what's her name, Jessica Chastain,
yes.
where she plays a campaign organizer
Okay.
for gun rights, and from the opening to the closing, it was great writing. It was great acting. There were no plot holes. It was superb. And guess who plays her protagonist? Yes, it's true. The head of the crime family in Your Honor. What,
No kidding.
I think his name is...
What's the name of the movie? Reframe. Sands Between Armageddon Time. The Forgiven. Ava.
Jessica Chastain's in The Forgiven? The Clint Eastwood movie?
No. It's another movie, I think, called The Forgiven with Ralph Fiennes. The Good Nurse. Huh. Anyway, that...
I'll be damned. But anyway, point's taken. And, look at the series we did see together with Oscar Isaac and her.
Yes.
There wasn't any bad writing in there.
Yeah, the marriage or the divorce or whatever that was called.
The scenes from a marriage.
Yes.
Scenes from a marriage. And so unique because they showed her walking, getting ready to act, goes into the room and just starts it.
Yes, that was fantastic. He is born in 1968. Okay. That seems reasonable. So, that was an amazing experience to watch today and actually show up to class with my homework. Like, what? So that was cool.
Well, there's another series I started that I didn't have high hopes for it. And as it turns out, it was quite gripping. And it's called The Last of Us.
Yes, that is
it's
based on a video game.
Yes, and it is. It's quite good.
I've the people that I follow that like video games for the past 10 years. They have said that The Last of Us, if you only do one video game, you should try that.
Really?
It's a particularly intriguing video game that pulls you in, but not so much like it's a thing that you can finish within 12 hours or whatever, if you're playing constantly. And and I've heard that it's one of the more it's one of the better examples of the genre, because video games, a lot of people think of video games as like Tetris or Space Invaders or Pac-Man, but there are video games that have a story to them that bring you along and can like cause emotions in you in the same way that movies can. And it's like a movie, but you're like participating.
Yes, you're a character in the movie.
And that is the people that are super video game apologists that are like, video games are not a waste of time. It's entertainment. And the capitalism shows that the video game industry is like 100 times bigger than the Hollywood movie industry.
That's it.
It's crazy how much more money there is there than in movies.
Huh,
like,
I didn't know that.
We like to think of movies as the pinnacle of
$2 billion in sales.
of creative entertainment, but the video game industry is so much bigger. It's like not even close. And
did you back in the day, did you have a chance to get in on any of that you could have changed the trajectory of your career?
No, I was never interested in video games. No, I was always more interested in like producing value, not entertainment, if that makes sense. And
well, one might argue.
Of course, there is value in entertainment. I'm like, but like if
a different
product that saves you so many hours of work, and therefore that money that you would have spent doing those hours of work, you can give to me to make a product,
right?
That sort of thing. But but there's where was I going with this? So I have been. There's only one video game in the past 20 years that I've really played like properly, and that is there's a video game called The Legend of Zelda. So Zelda is a franchise that came out early on in the Nintendo years, and they were super boring 2D. You're walking up here and go through that door, and now you're in this other room, and we go to the other room, and you're walking around, and there's a chest, and you can that sort of thing. But a couple years ago, and by a couple I mean like 5. They had on the newest, and again it's like 5 years old. The newest Nintendo product, the Nintendo Switch. They have this game called that like keeps going with the Zelda franchise, the same sort of idea. It's like Star Wars, a new version, but it's in 3D, and it's super fucking beautiful. And you can walk around this world that is just absolutely. And again, this is the Nintendo is the least powerful video creating of all of the Nintendo, of all of the video game systems, but. Anyway, it's super
Nintendo
gorgeous.
Nintendo is what, the weakest?
The weakest. The other two are PlayStation and Xbox. PlayStation was a big one, and with from Sony, and then Microsoft got into it with Xbox, and they can draw prettier things, but this. Anyway, it's a super gorgeous game, and I played it for a while. Like 4 years ago, and I used to play it in the mornings when my kids were having breakfast. Like I would serve them breakfast, and they would be like, "Daddy, go play Zelda," And so I would play, and over the course of hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of 20-minute segments, I got pretty far. And anyway, I've started doing that again, and it's just an amazing.
Is it better?
Is it better the second time?
Is it better now? Yeah, the second. Different.
It's literally the same game. And now I have a bigger TV, so that's nice. But in the coming months, they're going to come out with, after like 5 years of development, they're going to come out with the sequel, and that's going to be freaking amazing. But I don't know. Video games are an interesting medium.
I've never played a computer video game.
Yeah, and like that seems totally reasonable. It's no. Like it's a thing. Like I have people of my generation that consider gaming an important, like 2 or 3 hours of their day every day.
Uh-huh.
And to me, it's always felt, and I get why, I get their point of view. I'm not 100%, certain that my point of view is correct, but it feels to me like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because, however, what is watching a TV show, if not a waste of time? Like, in fact, video games are less of a waste of time than watching a movie.
Well, that's arguable.
Right, exactly. But
wholly dependent on the individual and what that person determines what value means.
Exactly. Which is why we can't criticize people for finding value. Like, how much more value is there in sitting down and like knitting for 3 hours? It's like, well, okay.
There you go.
You have a thing that didn't exist before.
Who's to say that the video game isn't more valuable than your life?
I know, right?
Right?
And
it's the best part of my day, someone might say. And the best part of the highlight of my day.
And some poor bastard has been listening to this drivel for how long?
No,
and like that's time that they can't get back.
Hope springs eternal. There's no one listening. It's you and me, bro.
I listened to this twice.
First, those experts. I've never listened to a podcast.
No, why would you? That would be. Why would anyone? I have to do the edit, but just so that I can go back and like make note of whenever we talked about a thing. So, Dennis.
Yes.
You didn't do any fishing this week?
I had intended to, but the project of the week has taken over. As you know, the third floor of my house is a gabled single floor for the whole top story, which
I think we all know that. Yes.
Is about 800 square feet of floor space. And back in the day when we moved in, I took 3/4 of that 800 and turned it into a library playroom. And I built
3/4 of 800 is 600.
So 600 square feet. And then on the mark of 1/3 of it, I built a bookshelf that actually is a wall. So the bookshelf.
What? Is it a bookshelf or a wall?
And right in the middle of the bookshelf wall,
is there a door?
Is a 30-inch door, 30 inches wide.
It's part of the bookshelf that
yes.
You can like touch a book and it like opens.
So you touch the handle and turn it, and it opens.
Damn it!
But that goes into a space that's then the other 200 square feet, but it's all gable. Well, for reasons that are complicated, but generally speaking, money and time, when I redid the house, I didn't go to the huge trouble of putting in a floor in there, a new floor, and covering up the floor, which had been riddled with varmints eating the wood and whatnot. Well, the varmints returned and the holes got bigger. So I took it upon myself to this week to go in the room, which is stacked with boxes from floor to ceiling, 200 square feet, with little paths to get to different sections. And all that stuff had to be moved once to get it out of the way. Once, then when the wood and floor is put on, move it over on that wooden part, do another section, Then everything's got to be moved to the center so I can put in the gap foam in the very bottom corner because it's a slope wall. So it's a 45-degree angle at the base where the wall and the ceiling, where the ceiling and the floor meets. There's actually not any walls. It's all ceiling, except for the book wall I built. That attic is all ceiling and floor.
Nice.
And at the bookshelf.
Can you hear this rain?
What's that?
Can you hear? It is hailing right now.
Out there, I can hear it.
Yeah. Anyway.
At your spot.
Yes.
So no, I didn't go fishing because in the day I would have was actually yesterday because it hit 40 degrees up north. And it's, anything over 37, 38 is workable because the water doesn't freeze on your pole in your line if it's 37.
Fucking lightning and thunder and shit here.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so we have had the coldest days of the year so far. It's been down close to freezing, and the mountains that we can see from where I live are all snow covered, which is exciting.
Oh, cool. Is that unusual, snow-covered mountains?
It's about a 3 times a year occurrence. Let me complain about a thing. I went to, so last November I went and I needed some new shoes, and I bought some shoes from this local store, and I was like, all right, we'll see if they're any good. And they were fucking amazing. And I went back like 3 days later and I was like, can I buy all of these shoes from you so that like I have these shoes? And they were like, no, we're getting more in January. Come in January after King's Day, and we can give you more shoes. And we've got other like similar models, but like that are like more waterproof and stuff, and like good for winter and stuff. And so I waited a little too long, and today I went, and they were like, "Oh no, we sold those out like within like 2 days." And this particular manufacturer only sends us like 3 of each shoe, and now we're selling the shoes for the spring because fucking fashion clothing bullshit. And
when you snooze, you lose, bro.
And so I should have been like, here's €100 and my phone number.
Yeah.
Call me when the shoes come in.
Yeah. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Yeah.
And so anyway, that is a disappointment in life, which is, you live and learn. I more live than learn, but so it goes.
Well, it's been cool here in the 30s, mostly rain. Had a little bit of snow. I was actually cutting the wood for the floor outside and only caught a little bit of a drizzle. I cut today without a mask on, and so I inhaled so much sawdust that I feel like I've got a sinus thing going on. It's so stupid of me. I know better. I hate it when I do stupid stuff.
Splinter nose.
Hate it when I'm stupid.
Use your nose horn.
Well, I'm on my way to do got to put the grandbabies down for their nap. It's my son-in-law's birthday. Shout out to Dan. Happy
Sweet.
birthday. I bought him a pint of Johnny Walker Black, elegant bottle, tall bottle, and 2 Voodoo Ranger IPAs that I think he'll like. And heading over there, and then going to show up if I make it through the thing about putting my grandbaby to sleep is I'll fall asleep too.
Right.
And since I've
Rockabye.
I tried to take a nap today, but the little one thought that my mustache and beard were quite amusing. And so there was more poking the fingers. And then when I'd open my eyes, she'd pull her hand away real quick and act like she didn't do it and lay there in her eyes closed with a smile on her face.
Yeah, so
off and on for 40 minutes.
After our recording last week, I felt sick, and
Oh, good timing.
Yeah,
Good
and
timing.
It's not. Look at that
timing. Three's a charm. Put that in. Don't edit that out. That's perfect. You bring up the subject about being sick and have a sneezing fit.
So
of course. 4 in a row. Wow.
I managed to catch my wife's Influenza A infection last Thursday.
Influenza. That's 6, man.
Well, I mean,
are you wearing out here? What time is it there?
No. I have been good. I just started talking about it and I'm sneezing. So
7.
Let's count them all. So
next time, if you sneeze one more time, it's the end of the podcast.
There it is. Goodbye. Okay, that's it for episode number 172. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/172, including a link back to episode 9 where we discussed the Angola Prison Rodeo. You can support the show at patreon.com/happyhour, where if you give at the Gin Martinis level, you can watch a video of us doing these crazy things. See you next week.